Okay, so you're probably wondering what on earth is Raven up to now? Welcome to another Doctor Who video here on my channel. Today's video is a bit of a DIY video, a bit of a do-it-yourself video. I mean, on this channel, really? Hell yeah, let's do it. So, I have a collection room like many of you do too, and unfortunately it just isn't big enough. I have literally filled every single wall with bookcases, cabinets, you name it. There is literally no more wall space. So I thought to myself, how could I possibly make more space in a room that's already filled? And this is what I've come up with by utilising the space behind the door and above the radiator. Now most of you will probably have a radiator in your collection room, but luckily for me the radiator isn't under the window because I actually don't have a window in this room apart from a skylight. So that rules the window business out of the way. But I do have a radiator, and the radiator is actually behind the door. So once you open the door, the radiator disappears. What I've decided to do is buy some shelves and build these shelves up on the wall behind the door. But you may be thinking, but Raven, when you open your door, they're just going to get squashed. Well, don't worry about that. I've solved that problem as well, but I'll get to that in just a minute. So, what you're going to need. So I went down to my local B&M to purchase some very cheap shelving. I'll show you what I've got. Now this is actually a smaller version of that one. It's slightly shorter, simply because I only actually bought one big one, so I'm going to have to pop down and buy a few more. These smaller ones, as you can see, are £2.99. The one that's currently on the wall is actually £4.99. Now I worked out on the big one, as you can see here, you can fit quite easily, with space either side, 3 sets. So potentially you could just about squeeze 4 on there, but for now I'll leave them as they are. So you have your shelf. What else do you need? Now the shelving unit does come with some screws, wall plugs and little stickers, but I'll be honest with you, apart from the free bag, these screws mean nothing because they're just not strong enough. So the best thing to do with the screws is throw them on the floor. Also in B&M they do sell screws, and they are really cheap. Of course you can go anywhere to buy screws, but I chose to get some in B&M. You will need for each shelf 3 screws, and these ones are much longer and also quite a lot thicker than the ones that they supplied you with the shelving unit. So what else do you need? You definitely need one of these. It's a spirit level. It will make sure that that is nice and straight. So you'll also need a screwdriver. Now it would be nice to have a sonic screwdriver that actually worked, but it's only 2019 and maybe we just haven't got there yet. We haven't found Gallifrey. So until we do, a normal screwdriver will suffice. Now this is part of the video where I become perhaps a bit of a bodge job type DIY person, because I don't really like wall plugs. Wall plugs just never seem to do what I want them to do. So I'm actually screwing straight into the wall, which is just chipboard basically. It's really shallow. There's a room the other side of this room, so it's not an outside wall, and it certainly isn't brick. So it's, I think it's one of those walls, is it masonry they call it? A wall, space, and then another wall. So by no means is this a thick wall. I could probably punch it and my fist would go through it. But I will be brave and see just how these shelves fit. Oh, and of course, one other thing, you may be thinking, Raven, you got your shelf upside down there, buddy. They're supposed to be like picture framed rails and they go that way. Well, yeah, you can do that, but I figured it has a lip, so if you turn it upside down, no more lip means you can get bigger things on the shelf and it doesn't really compromise the strength of the shelf, I hope. As I mentioned, I have the smaller one here. This only has 2 holes, and that's because it's a smaller shelf. This one here has 3 holes, 1 on the left, 1 on the middle and 1 on the right. So once you've gone ahead and flipped over the shelf and you've got it as straight as you can, whack on the old spirit level and you will see that you can get it as almost perfect as you possibly can, because you do not want your action figures or anything else that you put on this shelf sliding off. That would be silly. So once you've decided that you've got the perfect kind of angle, now's the important part. Now what I do is I get the screw and I start in the middle. So I will basically just puncture the wall. These walls are so thin, like I said, you can puncture the wall with this screw really easily. So you pop it in the first hole, in the middle. You then use your screwdriver, you screw it up about halfway. Now bear in mind, when you start screwing, you've got to be resilient, you've got to be strong, because you cannot let go of the shelf or move the shelf for the next minute or so, so just bear that in mind, get ready. So once you've half screwed in the middle screw, I would then go over to the left, only because I'm left-handed, get another screw, puncture the wall, screw it in halfway, making sure you've kept the shelf as straight and still as possible. And then finally, onto the right-hand side, puncture the wall with a screw, screw it in halfway, and it's looking good so far. Now, go back to the middle screw, screw it all the way in, left, all the way in, right, all the way in, and then one more time, just for luck, into the middle, really tight, left, really tight, right, really tight. Now for the scary part. So this is the time you remove the spirit level and let go of the shelf, and hopefully your shelf will look something like this. Okay, so the spirit level has come off. The shelf is as straight as it's going to be, and it's also as tight as it's going to be. So now, the fun part, you get to decide what you put on your shelf. Now, for example, I want to display my Doctor and Dalek sets from Big Finish, and also my Doctor and Dalek sets from the Toys R Us exclusive range. So bear with me while I just put them back on the shelf. Lovely, there we go, there we have my sets on the shelf, and so far so good, nothing's gone wrong. But of course you may be thinking, you've still got to open your door, Raven, and when you open your door, it's going to whack into it. Well, I've already measured it, and believe it or not, when the door is open at the fullest, i.e. against the radiator, it only just about touches the shelf in the left-hand corner. So to stop it from actually touching the shelf at all, I've employed a very good friend of mine. Let me show you what I mean. So down here are a couple of door stops. We've got a sheep, why not? And we've also got an upside down owl, which has face planted itself on the floor. Now, hopefully, with them being there, they will stop the door touching the shelf. So, live for the first time, let's have a look and see what happens. As I open the door, it slowly starts coming, and as you can see, we're going, and it stops there. Now, of course, you can't actually see what's going on behind the scenes because the door is in the way. So what I'm going to do is do a bit of freehand filming just to prove that this door isn't actually touching the set or the shelf at all. But I will bear in mind, I didn't anticipate the door having the handle on the other side. The handle is very, very close to touching, but still it doesn't quite touch it. So let's take a look behind the door. Okay, so as you can see, yes, I do have some cool posters on the back of my door. When I open the door, as full as it goes, it actually does stop just there, and it doesn't touch any of these sets or the shelf. So I hope that's clear enough in this segment of the video. Take my word for it, they are not touching. So, that's awesome. So there we have it, everybody. That's how I've managed to display even more sets in my collection room, and you can do exactly the same as me. And rest assured, I'm not stopping at one. Oh no, I've worked out, because I used a little tape measure, that I can actually fit 5 of these shelves on this exact bit of wall, and 5 times 3 sets on each shelf is 15 sets. So I've now made space for at least 15 Doctor Who action figure sets. I am over the moon. You may be able to notice just up there, by the way, but I did have a longer one from IKEA, and this one wasn't flipped upside down, but it was just above the door there, so it meant I could open the door and it made no difference whatsoever. But I thought to myself, this wall space is wasted, so the posters are going to come down and I'm going to have 5 of these lovely jubbly shelves on the wall. Fantastic. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again very soon in the next video, and very soon when these shelves are up on the wall, I'll have a look at it for you. I'll show you what it looks like with all 5 of these shelves on the wall. Until then, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, thank you for commenting, thank you for liking. See you later.